whereas the kicking game from Kelly and Sneed was a bit erratic. I mean, Sneed kicked out on the full, which I enjoyed, and yeah, it was a case of that Warrington were getting pressure on and Hull FC weren't.
Yeah, and I think that some of those kicks that are those high drifting sort of kicks that Austin can do, that they're sort of coming down and they're moving away from the fullback. It's I think Shaw dropped at least one of those.
He also you're right. He stopped him from being able to get being quick off the mark as well, didn't it? So it meant the wire chased him in his face straight away.
But it was a bit like the Leeds game of against Cass in the grand final a few years ago. The weather was terrible. The rain, it was greasy conditions, slippy. The ball was slippy. So they were trying to sort of force errors. And I thought it felt to me like why we played the conditions a little bit better. I didn't think we played a perfect game by any stretch of the imagination, and like you say, the try at the end kind of flattered the scoreline a little bit. But yeah, I think we potentially just played with Austin's kicking definitely the conditions a little bit better. It's interesting that people I think it's Mike picked out Patton. If you ever sit in a group of in the wire end, the only thing that you'll know for certain is that Patton is shit and Rob Hicks is bent.
I got to hear that Rob Hicks was bent from both sides.
Yeah. So it's nice that some Wire fans at least think Patton's doing an okay job.
The big news, as the teams were warming up, was Ratchford back in the side. Leigh, how important do you think that was in terms of getting your structures back and getting the side composed and collected?
I think composure is the key word, isn't it? I think Mamo's being good and bad in equal measure, and on the wing he was okay under the high ball, but Ratchford is absolutely you can rely on him under the high ball. You can see him immediately, talking to everybody, getting them moved around where he wants them. He's like appearing in attacking structures, in the way that he does. He just he adds something that, and we've really missed him. We've really missed him while he's been off, and it was great to see him there. I'm surprised. I was really surprised. I heard that he was playing. I didn't think that he would. I thought he'd got at least another 3 or 4 weeks weeks injury in him. But I thought it was great. What did you think? As neutrals, obviously, I love him.
I can't say I really noticed him particularly. That's not a criticism, because if you're sweeping stuff up at the back and kind of being an organizer and doing what you need to do, the last thing you want to do is notice somebody because he keeps dropping his lollies,
Yeah.
So
you don't notice Mamo.
Yeah, quiet efficiency is no bad thing, particularly when the conditions are tricky as they were.
Yeah,
he wasn't he wasn't probably a 9 out of 10, but a solid 8 kind of. Did his job, and that was that's probably what it was for me.
I think he was part of a unit that was far superior to the opposition unit, and that was the spine. The spine of Warrington massively outplayed the spine of Hull FC, and probably part of that was a couple of the Warrington forwards. I thought Cooper was back to his best form, and I think Philbin was brilliant in this game. And I also think, cause I do think, other than the start of the game when an error was forced from Hull that led to a try quite early on, the Goodwin try, after that Hull FC had much the better of the next 15-20 minutes up until about the half hour mark, and I do think.
Agree, yeah.
You must have been relieved, Leigh, that they were taking these penalties. Anyone who takes a penalty when they're behind just doesn't have the right ideas about how to play the sport. Wigan did it a few weeks ago, and I was fuming with them. Hull Hull FC did it in this game, and you never thought that it would be, even with those conditions, you never really thought it would be about penalty goals, because there was just enough good creative players on the pitch for both sides that I didn't think it would be a 2-point difference when push came to shove. But I do think when Murdoch-Masila came back onto the pitch, he changed the momentum, because what he did was allowed Daryl Clark to start getting a bit more speed out of the ruck, which was something we didn't see in any of the games, speed out of the ruck. I mean, the women's game was the slowest rucks I can remember for both sides. You'd expect that a bit with it being an amateur competition, but even in this first semi-final, there was a lot allowed to go, and I think that didn't take away anything from the game. I think it was fine, but when Murdoch-Masila came on, it was very hard for Hull to control the ruck at that time, because their forwards, their key forwards that they need to keep on the pitch to be able to have a cohesive attack, people like Taylor and Westerman are far too important to their attack for my thinking at times. And what that meant is they were starting to get overpowered, and Clark was, so you started to get good field position then, and that's when Patton and Lascelles Austin were able to control the game with their kicking.
Yeah, no, I agree, and just going back to your sort of your first point at the top of that, like I was mightily relieved when Sneyd was taking those penalties, because I mean the first one they had us. I thought that was a nailed on try, like with that close to our line. I thought they didn't back themselves in that situation, and I think that was a mistake, but their mistake was our sort of profited us. So obviously, I was delighted, but yeah, I just think, go on.
Any star players for you, Al?
Before I talk about star players, can I just talk about a selection query in terms of Jake Cornerman starting off the bench? What did you think about that?
What do you think, Leigh? I'll let you go first on it. Were you happy to see Griffin and Tumabavi in the centres as a Wire fan, when you know how dangerous Connor can be?
Yeah, I mean, I was at the start. I was so focused on us. I was actually, I was really nervous. Well, obviously with the form that we've shown, the last time we played Hull, they did us, and I was really sort of not that confident about it. So I kind of felt like we could be the architects of our own downfall. I weren't necessarily worried who was playing for them, but yeah, it was a good. I suppose it's a bit of a boost, but when he did come on, he didn't do much, did he? So
no, he definitely didn't. I do think it was strange. I don't think his head was right when he came onto the pitch. I don't think he contributed positively at all, unfortunately, for Hull FC. But I do think there was other players in that lineup that made mistakes that were maybe. Mark Minicello had a couple of real killers, especially that error right near the end. Which
was that Minicello or that dropped it for Philbin?
Yeah, I think.
Is that what you mean? I thought it was.
It was Westerman, weren't it? Minicello had an error before that, and then Westerman.
Minicello did have one before that.
Yeah. So both of them contributed to like not getting out. Minicello had the error from the dropout, not from near his own line, but when there was the dropout, so they had a chance to attack. And also Ratu Nalongo, and now he has been fantastic, hasn't he? And he showed us some of what he could do as well in this game. And it was one of those. It was probably the most electrifying moment of this game when he made that break round Lynham and absolutely ripped him to pieces for pace.
Oh God, yeah.
But the problem was Jamie Shaw was trying to convince him to pass the ball inside. It made him forget that what he was good at was running really fast and overpowering someone. So he kind of got stuck too much in two minds and ended up wasting the play at that stage, which was very unfortunate because that would have been a fantastic
that was their try though, wasn't it?
He was ultimately,
and then he kicked it across, and Framo got the try off that. So So it was great. I mean, it was great meters, and he was electric. But he was like, he's a bit like watching a really good under-8s player, like that just runs and they've just got that electric pace and they'll try and run around people but he just doesn't seem to even know what he's doing. He's just got which is, I guess, is hard to defend against. But he was running across the line and trying to get offloads away, and it was so close to his own try line. It wasn't really creating much.
No, exactly. It did lead to the try from the kick from the field position he created. But I suppose there was a lot of skill to come in the next play from that, wasn't there? And I suppose that kind of gets us to the highlight moments from this game in a way, because they kind of all came from kicks.
Yeah. That try was the actual kick across the field and the take and the put down for Hull, as bitter as it was for me to see, was a brilliant rugby, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely outstanding. Yeah, in terms of degree of difficulty, I'd probably give it to Patton's kick for Curry.
Oh yeah.
Because the amount of space he had to put it in seemed a lot. It wasn't just a floated kick, was it? He had to hit a spot for the player to come in and get it, and I thought that was absolutely marvellous. Although Austin said, "What you can do, I can do too," and put one on a plate for Toby King to leap up in the air as well, and out-jump Jake Connor, I think, which is rare to see Jake Connor.
Big lad though. Toby King,
I think they're both very similar, aren't they? But they both took advantage of the natural advantage that the attacking player has in those circumstances. Because when the shoe's been on the other foot, we've seen Connor claiming that ball out the air, and scoring, haven't we? So I think it plays to the advantage of the attacker in those positions, and it's smart play in that place in the field, because both kicks landed, just short of the try line. So even if you don't get it, you're kind of pinning the guy's back at you, and it was just smart play, and it just talked about the way that why we're winning the territory battle. It felt to me overall, in the flow of the game.
So Leigh, I'm going to take you now to sort of the last quarter of the game. You'd been on top for pretty much half an hour. 40 minutes at this stage. There was the no try, which was a clear obstruction. I'm disappointed that the referees didn't send it up as a no try on the field for the Framo try. So there wasn't too much concern there. But Scott Taylor went over right underneath the 6 with 15 minutes left to play in the game, and it took it to 16 points to 14. What were your feelings at that stage?
I am naturally sort of a person that thinks that we're going to blow it, because a lot of times we do, especially in big games, as you know. So
that's scar tissue.
Yeah. So it's a very there was a lot of throwing our arms in the air and being angry and maybe a bit of swearing. I could just see them, and we, like you said, we've been so dominant, and I felt like we played such a good, sensible game plan, and then you could feel it unraveling, and it felt around me like there was a bit of a loose ball that had led to that, and Hill had dived on it, and there was loads of, everybody was incensed by the decision in the first place, I'd kind of lost the play a little bit, and I wasn't sure why the penalty had been given, to be honest with you, and then it was but then everybody was incensed around us, like all the Wire fans and stuff. So then to turn into a try, it was just like it was bad times in the North Stand, but obviously, then it just led to that really sort of tense ending. Where I had, my hands were shaking. I was like so nervous, and my mate who I was with, who's a Saints fan, was trying to talk to me, and I just couldn't speak. I was in bits. Then obviously it all came good in the end. We got that it was all happening over the other end of the pitch, but yeah, when the drop ball and then the kick through. I think something had happened